Call the Tuesday, December 10th, board meeting or council meeting, or I apologize. Start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. And we'll have the roll call, please.
Hope.
Here.
Transier.
Here.
Milszewski. Here. Fletcher.
Here.
Funkhauser.
Here.
Readers. Chirulus is absent. Peterson.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Are there any amendments to the agenda? None. What?
Is that a Christmas tree?
It sure is. Is that a motion to the agenda, amend the agenda?
I'd like to, an observation.
Oh, I like that. Okay, that's even better. Okay, are there any presentations? Bart, what are you doing here, little thing down front of the agenda item? Okay. No public hearings. Are there any citizen comments on agenda items? Seeing none, we'll move on. No consent agenda. We have minutes for approval from the regular city council meeting of November 12th and the regular city council meeting of November 26th. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I heard two
Second.
people. Okay, perfect. That helped. Funkhauser, I think, and Milszewski. Is that correct? Any comments?
Actually, Mr. Transier.
Oh, Mr. Transier. Oh, I apologize, Dan. Any corrections, changes? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much. Next, we have bill payments for approval from the current bill list. For $482,776.87 for vendors, $782,151.25 for wire payments, and payroll ending 11/27 of $311,999.36 for a total of $1,576,927.48. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Pick one. I heard Milszewski. Who'd you hear second?
Second.
Fletcher, good. Yeah, it was all of them at once. Okay. Any questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Funkhauser.
Aye.
Transier.
Aye.
Fletcher.
Aye.
Readers.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Hope.
Aye.
Milszewski. Aye. Motion carries.
Awesome, thank you so much. Mayor's report, we have several items listed, and at least two that are not listed. The first one I'd like to start with is Lynn. You have some announcements, right? At least one announcement.
Well, I think you can.
Oh, well, okay. I just want to make sure I have this right. We have coming into Kendall Marketplace, a new building going up for 2 new buildings? Okay, I don't know which ones we can comment on. Why don't you take over? I don't want to screw anything up here.
The Verizon store that is currently located at Route 34 and 47 over by the Walgreens is going to be relocating to Kendall Marketplace, and they're going to be building a freestanding, about 1,800 square foot individual single-use building, and they have actually applied for their current building permits. It's their desire to start construction in the spring and be open later in the summer of 2020. And then right next door to that spot, in the next lot out in Kendall Marketplace, is going to be a Smoothie King. That is going to be a 1,200 square foot freestanding with a drive-up. And Smoothie King is a unique concept. You should all visit their website. It's actually a meal replacement. So we've got smoothies for people that are trying to be healthy, people that are trying to be keto, people that are trying to lose weight. So they're going to be as well breaking ground in the spring and opening in the summer. And it is actually a franchise, and it's owned by Jonas Hagos, who is a Yorkville resident, who is the gentleman that is the owner of the Arby's in Yorkville. So, two exciting new additions and first-time outlets.
That's awesome. I think that's exciting. I know there's a couple things that are exciting about that is get some activity there, and that SSA will help split that amongst more
Yes.
users, which will be
Yes.
excellent. They'll drive more business. And a couple of things that help is obviously the Route 34 getting done. That just opened up, and now here we are, not even 2 weeks later, we've got new businesses. And the other thing that really helped is, I saw Lynn, and I know I've told you this before, but when we were out there at that shopping center conference, that I really thought, there's no reason I need to go, and I know I sound like a broken record. I went out there, and she was just like, I'm telling you, she was like those high school kids setting people up, and she worked at Smoothie King, she worked it. So a lot of this came from that conference out there. And by the way, their smoothies, they were out there, they are good too. I think Bart and I had more than one. So, excellent. Anyway, so that's good news. That's exciting. Thank you, Lynn. Now, the other thing, I was able to speak to most of you about this. This is more of a high-level discussion, but I want to throw this out there and just see what kind of, conversation we have. So, when Mr. Jensen was hired as police chief, I told him, I said, we're not going to have a $30 million building to have in Oswego, and I keep reminding him of that, lest he forgets. And he hasn't. But I said, let's challenge ourselves. Let's throw spitballs at the wall, as I say. And for every idea we have, we know they're not all going to stick. Well, one idea that we had, and we thought, let's throw it out there and see what happens, was do we consider taking the police department? We know we're going to need more space in the next 4, 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it's going to be. And do we talk to the sheriff's office and see if there's a willingness to do shared space at the public safety center where the sheriff is housed? So we sat down with Sheriff Baird. Who else was there? Scott Greider, Scott Keppel, those are county guys. And then Bart and Jim and myself. And we just threw out the idea of, hey, what do you think of potentially building another wing and sharing some space together? And it was pretty well received. Now, they hadn't talked to their board, they're gonna talk to their board, and we didn't have any specific details, we don't have a specific proposal, but what we thought is if people are willing to at least explore that, we'd talk further with the county, and if they're willing to explore it, if we're excited about it and they're not, then it doesn't work, but if we're both excited about it or intrigued by it, we'd have some further discussions, and then we might have, bring forward in the spring, a proposal to look at the space needs of both sides and see if there's something that could work together to save both the county and of course the city some tax dollars. Instead of us building something for $6 million and them for $6 million, maybe it's 4 each, or maybe instead of 10 and 10, it's 8 each. I don't know what it is. But we might be able to share training rooms, possibly a boardroom, maybe locker rooms. There's all kinds of things we could talk about, and I don't have the specifics. But I talked to most of you ahead of time, and I just want to throw it out and see what comments people have one way or the other. And if you're all saying, hey, we want nothing to do with this, that's fine. But at least give me some direction. You don't have to have specific comments today, but if you do, that's fine. I figured I'd give you, 30 days or so to give me some comments. But if anyone has any thoughts today, I'm open to hearing them.
No, like I said on the phone, any type of exploration of finding ways to work smarter, not harder, spend less, any type of, purchasing cliche that you can throw out there. I like the idea of not going it alone. That's why I think the water study is a little bit, or the water plan that we have for Oswego, Montgomery, and Yorkville is a better move than assuming that you have to do things on your own. So however the conversation moves from concept to actual execution, I'm excited. I know there are professionals out there that can kind of put those things on paper for you without having to say, well, what are we going to share? I'm sure it's been done before, and that's the type of stuff that we should be exploring to make sure that we have the facilities that we need, but we're not overpaying for them because it has to remain independent. Well, they're seated here, as are we, and we both kind of provide the same service, but albeit, different angles. So I think while we have the partnership that we do right now, at least personally, it does make sense to see if we can extend that into a professional sense to save the rest of us some cash. So for sure, good idea.
Other comments, questions, thoughts?
Were we able to determine whether or not there are other counties, municipalities that share law enforcement buildings in the state? I know we talked about it, but...
We did, and I didn't follow up with a specific phone call, but I know the sheriff told us at the meeting that he's aware of at least one county in municipality, and I don't remember which one it was.
Right, I don't think he said in the meeting.
So, and just to be clear, I'm sorry, one moment. Just to be clear, this is not looking to replace the Yorkville Police Department. with the sheriff's office. We'd still have our own police department, staff, we'd still have our own chief. This should just be, are there facilities and things we could do together to be more efficient? Chris, I saw your hand.
Anytime we can look at something that's going to help us with our facilities and what we can do. I think this is a great opportunity as a subset to the master facilities RFP that we have already approved, but not authorized. I think this could be rolled into that as part of that. You're talking about a space needs possibly for that. I think this could work very well with that program in terms of actually trying to find out what we need. We have some facilities right now that we don't know what we need, what we can do with them. This might be a great opportunity to roll those two together to save some money on that project, as well as looking into this. I don't want to just jump into this one and do a study here when we have other facilities we need to consider as well. I think we could possibly tie them in with a slight change of scope on that program, and then still assess our existing facilities, what we need for all of our projects, as well as the police department. And if it helps the sheriff's office in doing it, I think that's a good opportunity.
Other comments, questions? Okay, well, again, I think we need to have, or specifically to have comments tonight, so if you have something in the next few weeks, next month, please bring feedback. It's something we want to talk about here at a high level, because the last thing I want to do is go marching in the direction and something that this scope of this project, because this would be a big project, and find out none of you are in favor of it. That just would be bad on my part.
When do you think the county will discuss this on their side?
They told us they'd probably discuss it at their committee of the whole meeting this Thursday.
Okay.
Now, I haven't confirmed that, but that was the discussion we had.
In their conversation, I understand it's going to be almost similar to the one we just had. Floating the idea, seeing if anybody has any issues with it before we proceed.
And Ken, if we did this, we'd call it the Buckeye Center.
So, it's all preliminary discussion at the moment, obviously, right? But do we have any idea how much it potentially could save us from building another facility or trying to utilize another facility and retrofit it? Because obviously we've got a lot of things coming up in the future that are high dollar, the deep water aquifers or whatever we're going to look at on the water side, buildings. We have a lot coming up that's going to cost a lot of money. So that's not going to be coming out of the general fund, or that we're coming out of the general fund. So do you have any idea?
Honestly, I don't. I'm guessing there'll be some savings, but Jason, I'd like to say I have any guesstimate.
I have one more question.
Sure.
When you spoke with Sheriff Baird, did the sheriff's office indicate that they were planning on expanding their current facilities? Because it would make more sense, at least in terms of a taxpayer for both the city of Yorkville and Kendall County, that if the sheriff has plans to expand their current public safety facilities and Yorkville wants to be part of that.
So they don't, I can tell from my most recent experience as of May, there was no specific plan in the next 2 years to do something. He did indicate, though, there's definitely some needs there. And as I said to several of you, if we went down this direction, or whatever direction we go for a building of this nature, we're looking at a minimum of 4 years from the time we say go. We're gonna have to go out and hire an architect, select one, hire one. They're gonna come up with the plans. We're gonna, beat those things up. Then we're gonna go to bid. There's just so many, and then the construction's gonna be a couple-year process, realistically. So they don't have specific plans now, but it might be something where they see, hey, we know in the next 5 or 6 years we're gonna need to do something. Maybe this jumpstarts that. But I just want to be clear that this is not something we're ready to start now. This is just a discussion, and it's going to be a multi-year discussion. And to the question of, how do you pay for this? That's a great question. One thing I've identified is, and I think 2023, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm putting you on the spot there, so pay attention. So in 2023, we have general fund bonds. Well, we have bonds that are partially funded through the general fund, and the general fund's kicking in about $325,000 a year. So, that would be one stream of funding. Maybe we need more, but that's why, even if we want to do it today, we got to make sure the funding's there. So, but there's a need. He realizes it. This is just a unique opportunity we both feel. So. Jackie?
So at our planning meeting, I thought it was kind of the consensus that we were going to, the council, one of the goals was to have that facility study, which I know you're not fond of, but wouldn't that kind of help this? If this looks like a go, to go ahead with that facility study, so we know exactly what we need, so that when we go in there, if we're going to do it, we know exactly what we need to do there. I mean, that was one, isn't that one of the top 10 things on our goals was to have that?
Two.
Is it number 2? Was to move ahead with that study, and we just keep stalling on that. You know, that would
So
help Public Works, it would help, I mean,
I don't remember specifically the top 10. I thought number 2 was building needs, not specifically a facility study. But to your point, if we do this might, we're talking about doing something for Public Works. We might look at putting those together, but it depends what the county wants to do. If we're gonna go this direction, they may not want to join those together. But those are discussions we can have, absolutely. So I'm not telling you no, I'm not telling you yes. I think it's something that we can discuss as we go. But to Mr. Funkhauser's point, again, some kudos here, Chris. We're gonna look at the Public Works, and we're already talking about, we looked at a building last week, it's not gonna make sense. But we're talking about some other ideas. If we go this direction, this, quite frankly, is quicker than I anticipated for the PD. So if we go down this direction, it might make sense to join a couple of those studies together. So, yeah, we'll look at that, absolutely.
I guess as you go forward, I know we talked a little bit about from our side, I use a referendum or some revenue source. We have different ideas there on stuff. You might also see what they're thinking when it comes to their revenue side, because maybe they only are going to want a referendum or something. I don't know that, but it might be something you might want to find out when you talk with them.
Yeah, that'd be, my guess is, Ken, that'd be part of the discussion from both sides is, if we do it, what do we think it's gonna cost, how are we gonna fund it, that type of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Then who's next?
Do they have any current room in any of the county buildings now that we could utilize or no? Or is it just strictly building and wing? Because I thought some of the second floor was empty.
At the courthouse it is.
It's at the courthouse?
Yes. Yeah, the courthouse is second floor.
Because obviously we work a lot with the county, so we'd be a lot more efficient, right? Both being that close together.
I would think there'd be some efficiencies. I mean, I'm not the expert at that, but I think there would be something that would be looked at, but I think the chief and the sheriff would both agree that there'd be some efficiencies. Could we put a dollar amount on those today? Probably not.
Right.
I was just going to ask, do you think that there would be any negative feedback from other communities from the city doing the joint venture with the county?
There might be.
Potential subsidizing county tax dollars for a municipal joint venture? So that would be my concern is that, you get Oswego, you get Montgomery, or you get Plano, one of them, why can't we do that? Why didn't we get the opportunity? And then it becomes a PR issue.
So here's what I'd say to that is, first of all, I'm not worried about the person in Oswego or Newark or Plano who thinks about what Yorkville's doing. We're gonna do what's right for Yorkville. As far as the other thing is, there's 2 points there. One is, if those cities have concerns, they want to annex to Yorkville, let us be, go right ahead, that's fine. We happen to be in the county seat, they are not. And secondly is, if we can do something that saves the county money, that actually saves that money as well. So there's several, it's a great question, because we contemplated that, but really, it
We'll have to be
would
prepared
just.
for that, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we go that route.
Oh, yeah, I'm ready. I'll spar with you so we can warm up a little. Other questions or comments? Excellent, well, I appreciate the feedback. It's good discussion. As I said, when we have projects at this level, I'm not gonna go barging down the hall with tunnel vision thinking this is the right way without having discussion, because the last thing I'm gonna do is have a big project like this, go one direction, find out the rest you have no interest in it at all. It just doesn't make sense, so I appreciate it. And again, if you have any thoughts over the next 30 days or so, bring them on. So, excellent, thank you very much. Bart, did I have anything else that I didn't have listed?
No, I think that was it.
Awesome. Now to the listed items, and of course I can always add to that list. It's my prerogative. Oh, this is exciting. The meeting schedule for 2020. Is there a motion to approve?
so moved.
By Milszewski, is there a second? Transier, did I hear you?
second.
Second, okay. Is there any discussion? We can just do voice, can't we? Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Thank you, Mr. Transier. Of
course.
And Ms. Milszewski. I like that thumbs up. Okay, the Kendall County Transportation Alternatives Plan, or the KC TAP program. We have an application, we'd like to put an application for some monies. I'll take a motion in a second, then we can discuss so people understand. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second by, was it? It was Frieders, okay. Excellent. Okay, so Mark, you want to lead this discussion?
Sure.
Please.
We have an open Kendall County TAP grant. We have applied and received a couple TAP grants in the past for Route 47 trails and for Kennedy Road trails. The TAP grant opening has not had any awarded applications in a few years, so they actually have a larger pot of money than normal. And they're looking to award potentially a grant larger than they have in the past. So we had staff vet a couple different options. There is one section of the Fox Road sidewalk trail, kind of between White Oak and the more traditional part of the old downtown. And so we thought for about $130,000 or $140,000 we could apply for that and potentially get up to $50,000 according to the actual application. But in the past, the city has been successful in receiving grants larger than that. So that would be something that, if the price came in higher than that, we might ask for a little bit extra money if that's okay with everybody. But that was the best, most immediate need.
Questions?
Real quick.
Please, Mr. Frieders.
Why, on that stretch of road, why wouldn't we opt for a shared use path as opposed to concrete sidewalk?
I think both ends of it are concrete sidewalk, so they're looking to just connect it to existing uses.
And you can't fill in the gap with a shared use path?
I said it would be about the same price.
It would be more, I think, this is a higher price because of the topography that's there.
Okay.
Other questions? Yes, Mr. Funkhauser.
That's what I was gonna just get to, is this is about $34 a square foot. This is a very high cost section of 800 foot.
But the
Walkway.
EI at the end of the day, threw in everything that could to make sure it was covered. This includes some items, some parcels that are in the older part of.
So we have to do land acquisition.
Right.
It would be bid out if we chose to outsource it. Some of them might be able to be done by in-house crews. So we wanted to just make sure that the upper end estimate was there.
So the bigger issue is 50,000 comes out of the grant, but $85,000 comes unbudgeted out of the general fund.
Potentially, yeah. And we can have that discussion.
The budget though, this wouldn't be done until next year.
This isn't-
We
this
wouldn't do
isn't-
this in April.
yeah, this will be next
My guess is
year.
we wouldn't do it in April, let's put it that way.
But, I mean, this is more than our sidewalk program is now. So this is a pretty good chunk for us to look at for an 800 foot section of.
Absolutely it is.
So it's a serious consideration. I mean, it's always good to go for the grants because the money's there, it's gonna go somewhere. But we end up with the $85,000 price tag here for this connection, which it's a needed connection, I will say. But, what's that?
What's the priority?
Yeah, where's the priority? So, I mean,
So one thing is, unless I understand this incorrectly, if we're awarded the grant, it does not oblige us.
to do work.
Right, is that correct? So we
It's
want
not
to
like the state grants where you have to.
No, we're putting in, hopefully we get the money, and then, those are fair points, they absolutely are. As I said before, from our goal session, I had a list, and I don't think I have that list with me today. No, I don't, but one of the things I want to do is I want to put some funding towards a sidewalk program, and not just $10,000 a year. It's some real money. This should be a step in that direction.
Yeah, pedestrian traffic was our fourth item. So this is a good point. This is something.
Yeah,
we-
no, absolutely, it was a goal that we all agreed to. I shouldn't say we all, but it was high on the list.
It was.
And so this would be a way to offset, granted, it might not be the most efficient use of dollars if we get it and if we approve it, but it'd still be a way to offset a real expensive portion with money other than ours.
And it connects a subdivision that is not currently
Not currently.
connected.
So if we're awarded, when do we have to accept or confirm? What would be the timeline?
I think there's general timeframes and suggestions in there, but I know in the past the county's been very flexible with us.
Because I want to put it in perspective of our budget.
Yep.
We're gonna be going through budget planning.
We would not have to perform the work before a budget,
No,
so.
but I just, in terms of accepting that we're gonna be having an $85,000 expenditure out of pocket as compared to what we're gonna budget for. I just want to get an idea, are we gonna have that budget process planned for already, or is this gonna be something that we're gonna have to come back and make?
Could we do it in 2021?
Yeah. Can we push it?
Yes.
Well, no, we would know before our budget process.
Correct.
Okay.
Or coterminous with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not necessarily before the process, but before we vote on the budget, we would know.
Where do we have?
Yeah, and if you approve the application, I mean, the general budgeting rule that we've had in the past has been to add things like that into the budget under the assumption that we receive it. So we would work that into our proposal.
Other questions? Ms.
I
Milshus?
think something to keep in mind, it is expensive, but the cross-country kids run down there, and that's dangerous. So, that gets them off that road for another section. I mean, it'd be nice if we could just run it all the way to Hoover eventually someday, but, there has already been a person several years ago quite seriously hurt there, while they were running along the road and hit, so.
Yeah, we had talked about expanding the project too, because I think there's $200,000 plus available from the county. And with nobody having applied for it in the past few years, I mean, we could extend it further out to probably an undefined point at this time, west. But you could run it for several hundred feet west and, make it a little bit closer to the river.
So it's a safety item.
So on that,
So I see your hand.
Yeah, that's what I was just pointing at. I heard that from several residents in there.
Okay, go ahead. I thought I saw Joel's hand.
no, that's all right. So on that, the section of the road we're talking about is a city road right now, but it's an access road to a county road.
Yes.
So technically, I believe by state statute, we have the ability for the county to provide assistance for maintenance and road projects through there. So even above and beyond the grant program, is there an opportunity to approach them for continuation of this?
We can always approach them.
And see if they're willing to look at this. I mean, the county wants to take this road over. Generally speaking, they would like to have access all the way to Fox so that it's a complete road. But would it be something that they'd be willing to maybe help us facilitate further?
I think that's a fantastic point, and that could be part of a conversation we have.
Well, if they have more money sitting there, maybe that's an opportunity.
They could take that road over and, and let me ask you this, to that point. This discussion is more than I expected. This is awesome. Maybe you all don't like it, but I love it. Would anyone here object if we said to the county, just take over Fox Road all the way to Route 47?
What's the downside?
Well, they might throw, you gotta take this, or I don't know.
Would they take the baseline road bridge?
No, that they won't.
But there is one other county access road, which is actually Van Emmon.
Right? Yeah, we've had some conversations along those lines. I just want to know if anyone's opposed to it. Okay, so that could be part of the conversation.
But if you would do that, isn't part of Pavilion ours? Does that throw stuff like that off?
It does not, because that's a township road,
Okay,
so that would still be our road off of the highway.
okay.
We don't
It would not be.
Right.
Yeah, we have it other places as well, so. Okay, well, good, gives us some points. Anything else on this? So for now, though, the motion, the second is to approve this application. And again, we are not committed, if we get it, we're not committed to spending the dollars. I want to make that real clear.
Non-committal, non-penalty.
No, yeah. So, any other discussion? We'll do roll call, please.
Transier.
Aye.
Polcher.
Aye.
Readers.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Pope.
Aye.
Milszewski.
Aye.
Bunkhauser.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Very nice, thank you all. Okay, next thing is the, thank you very much. The liability insurance and work comp renewal. Is there a motion to authorize entering a one-year insurance agreement with American Alternative Insurance Corp., Gladfelter, how do you pronounce that? Gladfelter, sorry, I butchered that one. For property casualty insurance in an amount not to exceed $179,984 and to enter in a one-year insurance agreement with Illinois Public Risk Fund, the IPRF, for work comp insurance not to exceed $186,521 and to authorize entering a one-year agreement with Alliant and Mesereau Insurance Services for brokerage services in amount not to exceed $19,000.
Second.
Who was that? Is that Coke? I can never tell over here. And the second was over here? It's part of getting old, I think. Funkhauser? Okay. Questions, comments on this? This is overall about a 6% increase. Who wants to speak? 6% increase
6%
overall.
aggregate increase,
Yeah.
primarily driven by workers' comp.
Claims.
Yep.
And then we have more employees too, but most of it's claims driven. We budgeted for, I believe, an 8% increase.
6%.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're right on budget then?
Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. I thought we had money for sidewalks, but we don't. Okay. I'm working. Okay, any other questions? Chris?
The only question I have, this didn't go through committee because of the scheduling to get this here. Under the statement of values, there are maybe a half dozen items that we either do own now, don't own, or there's some issues with the values that are on here. How does that, would that have much of an effect on the bottom line? I'm assuming not. I mean, the only large item that's on here is the jail and the downtown, the former rec building that's no longer there.
I believe there's a reconciliation process throughout the year,
Okay.
depending on what we sell things. Something that does change the premium. Last year, I think we bought 2 cars, like the meeting after we had approved the claim, that cost us to go up like $1,000. So that's something the staff goes through.
Because we got that $400,000 jail that's not here, the salt shed's not in the current correct value for the new building. The caboose is still on here. So we have some items like that that are through here that we probably have to have reconciled. So
Sure.
as long as it's not going to have a major difference on the bottom line, not going up anyways, I'd be okay with it. But
Can we get that clarified? I mean, not now, obviously, but can we just get those, Bart, can you work with them to get that clarified?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, I mean, it's not gonna be tonight's meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very easy to remove off if there are some,
because some will have to probably have an increase because they're new, or
if we're deleting,
If
we
someone were
should
deleting.
have a very slight increase. I think that jail in the past, we backed into it, it's like $400 a year.
no, we're not talking much.
Did you say that thing was on there at 400 grand honest? I didn't see that.
Yeah, actually, if you go through
Damn,
here.
we didn't get enough for that.
And then we only have $46,000 for Eric Salt Shed, which we know that's
replacement value.
a much better building in there now, so.
It would have been for the old one.
That was the old one.
Yeah.
No, they probably come close to washing.
That one, but then we have some other bigger.
Yeah, okay, we'll get that clarified. Those
Yeah,
are
that'd
great
be
questions. Any other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Clocher.
Aye.
Frieders.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Coe.
Aye.
Milchewski.
Aye.
Funkhauser.
Aye.
Franzier.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Awesome, thank you so much. We'll see you, thank you. You too. Drive safely.
Good luck, Mike.
I'm making notes, sorry. I'm not ignoring all of you. The next item is cleanup ordinance regarding the codes of ordinances pertaining to unlawful use of cannabis. And I'm gonna have Kathy discuss this after we get a motion in a second to make it legit versus Robert's rules. Is that a motion?
So moved. He's so moved, I'll second.
Okay, excellent. Okay, thank you very much. That was Transier and Funkhauser. Okay, Kathy, it's all yours.
In our code, prior to our adoption of new rules, regulations, and restrictions on the use of cannabis, we had earlier provisions. And the earlier provisions are attached to the copy of the ordinance so that you could see what in fact has been deleted. And it all pertains to the illegality of cannabis, and especially to possess more than 10 grams. In addition, we have always had a section in our code specifying the fines. And the only thing we had to do there was change reference to a new code section that is referenced to the ordinance we adopted at the last meeting with the new restrictions. So it's cleanup.
Chris?
So those fines are determined by us, they're not state mandated,
These fines are determined by us.
they're local fines. And we're good with these fines in terms of how they equate to our other penalties that are within our ordinance.
This was recommended by our chief.
Okay. That's new. And then one other question I had, we've stricken an entire line. It's the line in determining intent section, based on, location of the paraphernalia. Why would that be stricken?
Because it's intent to use cannabis illegally,
Okay,
and that's why we had to strike it.
so we're striking it because
Right.
that it has clarification in terms of how it relates to the state's allowances.
Yes.
How does one use cannabis illegally?
I was wondering about
Well, that's the issue, that's why we struck it. Because that's no longer going to be the case.
Yeah, possession of more than 30
Right now,
grams.
Wait, hang on one time, let Kathy go first.
Possession of more than 30 grams, by way of example, is contained in the new ordinance. So we took this out from here because we've done a whole new list that conform to state law as of January 1.
Let's get to the set first, I know all this all now.
Maybe Chief can tell me how this works. I know when alcohol, you have an open beer or something in your car, that's open container, and you're going to get a ticket or whatever from that. So how will this work with the cannabis? If someone has a pipe in their car or something, you pull them over, is that considered the same thing? Or a container, is the car?
So when they purchase the cannabis, it has to be wrapped.
Yes, right.
They cannot have open cannabis in the vehicle.
Okay.
That's what you're recommending.
That's kind of what it works the same as alcohol.
But you can have your pipe as long as there's nothing in
In
it.
the pipe, I guess.
All right, were the other, I saw a bunch of hands on this side at one time.
I'm clarified, man.
Okay. Mr. Monkhouse, back to you.
Well, that's what Ken was asking is, if you have an open item, how do you know that it's in use or not in use? That's kind of the.
It just cannot be open. State law says
So
you
if you put it in a
cannot.
plastic bag while you're.
No, the state law is far more restrictive
And
as is our
that's what I'm
ordinance.
gonna get at, is why are we striking this one? Because if it's in the
Because
presence.
it is much stricter, and the strictness is, it has to be a container such as that is currently approved for medical cannabis, which is absolutely closed and sealed.
So if it's
I've never
open-
seen one, I don't know, I can just go about what was described.
Mr. Peterson?
Is this the same as what the county has? Does the county have the same kind of structure that we have, or has anybody reached out to the county?
The county, we're talking about enforcement of local ordinances. The county has the same restrictions because they apply state law. We're saying, we're pretty much, we're the same because we're all taking it from the state. They enforce it under state law. We will be enforcing it here locally, fining here. What they do would be before the Circuit Court of Kendall County. I have no idea if they have minimum fines as we have. I have no idea if they will put people on probation or send them to jail. I don't know. You do?
Mr. Johnson?
So under the ordinance, it looks like you can write an ordinance for possession of cannabis inside the vehicle. It's obviously not packaged correctly. There's also an Illinois vehicle violation that can go along with that, which would be a state citation. Actually, I believe it's class A. Have to make sure, but there's also an Illinois vehicle code violation that's outside the ordinance. Which will go similar to your consumption or possession of full alcohol.
Right.
So I think then, for me, clarifying what I was asking, so striking this line diverts back to the state code,
Which we have adopted.
which is then clarifies and remedies this issue that I was trying to get to the bottom of.
Correct.
I'm not sure if I'm understanding what you're saying.
I do.
You can write the Illinois vehicle code
Right.
without the ordinance in place. I'm not sure I'm understanding.
Yeah, but the whole issue was we're striking the part that says if it's, it's in the proximity. So you come up to a car, there's an item that's open in their proximity. We're striking that. You're able to write a ticket though based on state code.
Correct.
So even though we don't have to have it in here, we still have the enforcement by state code.
No, we have our own code of ordinances. We have adopted as properly referenced in the second part of this ordinance. We have now referenced 3-14-3.
Yes. which is the state code that clarifies what you can and can't have legally.
Right, but we've made it locally enforceable. Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yes, it is the state code, I get it, what you're saying.
Other questions or comments? Excellent. Roll call, please.
Readers,
Hey.
Peterson,
Aye.
Vogt,
Aye.
Bilczewski,
Aye.
Feldhauser,
Aye.
Franzier,
Aye.
Clocher, motion carries.
Excellent, thank you very much. Next, we have item 5, Metro Station options. And Bart, it's about a 30 to 35-minute presentation on that, or maybe shorter.
I'll start now.
Yes.
Okay, great. We're actually doing it all via handouts. There's papers on your desk, and you can make some available to the press. They're basically just blow-ups of the city council packet. So I've drafted the memo in a way to kind of eliminate 2 of the options by recommendation, and then to dive in to a couple of the other station options. So the 2 that we didn't think were the best options for Yorkville Station site are option A, which is basically downtown Bristol, near the post office, Subtran bus barn area. And option C, which is the southwest corner of the BNSF tracks on Route 47. Option A is the most expensive because you have some wetlands there, and additionally, it's kind of in an area that isn't part of Yorkville city limits proper. And option C is part of city limits. It's right on Route 47. There's utilities to it, but there's not a lot of opportunities for adjacent residential and commercial development. So we thought that those were the 2 easiest to eliminate, and so that's what we're recommending. On option B and option D, option B is the one way out by Eldamain. I've listed the pros and cons there very briefly. It is probably the most advantageous for development because there's a lot of open land there. It's in the Plano School District. There's no utilities to it, and there's a number of other factors associated with it. Option D, adjacent to the Wrigley property, the southeast corner of 47 and the BNSF tracks, has enough room for a station only and parking lot. But then it has lots of adjacent development opportunities to the north across the tracks on Route 47. So we were looking for some feedback. The nuance here is that this is an extension study. So we don't have to necessarily say one or the other is, it's an all or nothing. We could say we like both of them, we're going to make a decision later. But to the extent that we have a preference now, we can kind of set that in motion with the extension study and start thinking about land acquisition and planning and all these other things. So staff is here, if we have questions about either site, but we are looking for some feedback on all 4 of the options listed.
Mr. Koch.
So looking at option B, can you also slide one of the potential storage sites for, I don't know if this one's the other side of 47?
So
Since you can't really, you didn't want to use that station.
Correct. So on option B, C, and D, the potential train storage yard would probably be that western one towards Eldamain, keeping it far away from residential. What Aaron has seen in Elburn is that, rail yards are busy places and they have lots of humming trains all day, and so they create noise. People usually don't like that. So with BC&D, Metro has told us that the western option for the storage yard would be preferable. It's not too far away, and it would be the best option for them. So that eastern option, that kind of overlaps option D for the storage yard, is actually only for option A. So, yeah, so there's a chance that they would recommend that maybe with option C or D, but they said the western option for the train storage yard is more preferable. Now, just so you have an idea, you're talking about 4 to 8 parallel train tracks, uncovered outdoor, and they're just going to go out there and park basically overnight. So they run sometimes when they're doing maintenance on them, but they're just out there kind of in a field.
So, so when we went to the presentation last week, it seemed like A is just automatically off the table because of where it would be in the wetlands area over there. But if option D for a station was permissible and yard B was permissible, or option B was permissible for a yard, that would keep running trains, and I don't mean running Zoom, I mean running stationary, away from residences. We have, if you look at Whispering Meadows on here, it looks like the frog wearing with a thermometer in its mouth, just to the southwest of Route 47 and the train tracks right there. We have trains that park basically between where Beecher crosses, or where the trains cross at Beecher, all the way into Bristol, and they idle for days, which means that the 7 or 8 houses that live back there on McMurtry listen to trains all day, which doesn't sound like a big deal if they're not moving, but it's loud, it's a hum. I know one of the residences had like a brand new baby. She's like, why are there trains? But that would be eliminated because we would have a yard where they would park, down assuming farther west, right?
Theoretically. I
Theoretically.
mean, if they're freight trains now, the freight trains aren't gonna go park in the metro, parking lot.
Yeah, so they might potentially still be doing the same thing.
Yeah, the metro trains are not.
Well, I know that that's incredibly annoying. They're not honking horns up in my area, but that running of the train, at least for those 7 or 8 houses on that side.
Probably helps.
Yeah, I don't think it would, because they're technically not, I don't know, I've been doing a lot of this lately. But knowing that the area north of Wrigley, south of the tracks, is an option, and there's nothing to the north of it, that seems, as far as noise and like complete annoyance of the residences, that would be the best spot. But is it a good decision? Because it says here on this one document, there's only like one something, there's 1.9 acres, whereas the other one across the street has 2.71. Is that big of a deal? Because we're only talking about that space for just the train area, not for a residential.
Yeah, basically the station platform itself and parking for between 600 and 2,000 cars, depending on immediate full build out. So both of those sites are adequate for that, comfortable, no impacts to wetlands, easy in, easy out, is what they've told us. So that's fine. It's just with the option C, there's no opportunity to put condos or townhomes or single family homes in the immediate area.
So that, all of that being said, I'm still in favor of yard at option B, station at option B. And then as far as the build out of the train station, so traditional looks kind of like what I would expect. The modern I find quite humorous in my opinion. And then the green roof is just a hippier version of the humorous version. So I don't really have an opinion on those. As long as they're providing the services that they're supposed to, I don't think that's something that I should be a part of. I'm not an interior or exterior designer, but those two locations from the get-go made the most sense.
So which two for you? I'm sorry.
So for the yard would be B, option B, and then for the station, option D.
D as in dog.
D as in dog.
So, or we will refer to that as the western storage yard, and then option D.
And I'll second that. So that's in addition to the.
I'm going to third that. I also want to make sure that people understand, because I've had a lot of people asking, in a perfect world, this being completed is still 13 to 17 years out, right? Because there's so many people out there thinking this is going to be done in the next couple of years, and they're so excited. Like, my kids are going to enjoy this if we're here.
Maybe.
Right?
If you have $500 million you want to invest in the entire project, yes, you can probably get it done in 13 years.
And some sidewalks too.
Right. So, I mean, that's conservative, but
yeah, it's a significantly complex long-term project.
Right.
Over here, Mr. Funkhauser, you mentioned why?
I will say, I do like option D on the southeast corner next to Wrigley. It's nice because it is on 47. The yard, or the station would be on a high-profile area. Wrigley does own everything on that southeast corner. They own every bit of land around it. So the issue is we'd have to have, or Metro would have to do some land taking, then we get into the issue of how does the city access it? It's all private land. And then, so we'd work that out, but that would be something that's good. The nice thing is you have land to the north, so if you were to do a TOD, transit-oriented development, You could easily do a tunnel, you can get in there, there's lots of land for high density along a state highway, so it's a good opportunity. But like I said, the biggest hindrance, I think, is that Wrigley owns all that land around it. They bought that intentionally to buffer themselves, so price values are going to go up if anybody wants to do a development around that piece of property. So there is a negative to that, but that's my prime location, I think.
For the yard of the station.
For the station, we're talking the station.
So everyone so far said D for the station.
Yeah, well, there's some pros and cons to that, but I'm going to throw
That's
out,
fine.
with option B, having it at Eldamine. I don't care for having the station all the way at Eldamine. I like what our comprehensive plan does by putting the station at Beecher. Still keeps the rail yard from Beecher to Eldamine, so it's basically just flipping the yard and the station. That puts that on the extension of our Beecher Road, which is for us, that's a major road to be built, but we're also talking 17, 20 years. In that time, Beecher Road could be built. But I think that's a more prime location for Yorkville in terms of what we could do, what opportunities we have for a TOD type of development, meeting our comprehensive plan goals, and having a rail station as well as a rail yard in a prime location for us. I think that would be my recommendation, is to take option B, flip the yard in the station.
So you're looking at the station at B?
Yes, at Eldamine.
Was your
Not
preference?
But flipping the two, having the station on the east side of what they're showing right now.
Yeah, it's like Station E.
It'd be Station E or B1, yeah.
Would that move the station then into out of our district and our city limits?
That is technically not in the city limits, correct?
Yeah, I don't think either of those sites are within Yorkville city limits.
It would be immediately
Currently,
adjacent to what we have as city limits though, because the Rob Roy Creek is our city limit right there. So it would be immediately adjacent to our municipal limits.
Right.
But then you don't get tax revenue for parking and whatnot, right?
So you can plan would get two.
They'd get two.
They have a station over here and they have a station on their other side.
No.
Don't they currently have a station that's active or no?
Well, that's this one here, I think.
So Plano is an Amtrak station, they don't have a Metro.
Yeah,
Right.
Amtrak's
Correct.
small numbers compared to Metro.
Yes.
But then we would have right adjacent to our property, you know, and who knows, maybe the other piece of the Whispering Meadows becomes parking lot. Maybe they end up doing that, so then part of it's in the city limits. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know where the school district boundaries lie there. I don't know if that's maybe an offshoot of your question there, but that had been a talked about factor is, you know, none of the tax revenues go to the Yorkville schools, although when you're building a trans-oriented development, theoretically, you're gonna have people that probably don't have kids, you know, yet, but there would be some kids from the residential development, so they'd be in the Plano School District.
And that's where I would like to try to take that station and keep it within or as close to Yorkville as we can. So if we flip those two, instead of having the station at Eldamine, that brings it closer to the city limits.
You're gonna get pushback with people that are on the south and the east side of town because they're gonna have to drive west. Yeah. You're gonna try to go east.
They go up Oswego, if Oswego gets one. Right up Orchard.
So you're talking, you go right down
71
34.
Orchard would be easy.
Instead of going up Eldamine, you go up Beecher.
And by then, we'll have Eldamine Road Bridge done too.
Yeah, if you're Metro, are you thinking we've got three stations that are pretty close to each other, if that makes sense?
That's why they're doing a study. We're all talking about studies tonight. Let's see if they'll pay for the one we want to do too.
All of the Yorkville station options are within Metro's acceptable station-to-station mileage distance. So the only thing that we hadn't talked about, we didn't put in the memo, but one of the comments made at the Plano open house was that Plano was interested in maybe not having their station in the downtown, and they were thinking about shifting it east to Eldamine. And I think somebody had thrown out, like, why don't we just share a station with Plano and Yorkville? I mean, theoretically, yes, it can save you $500,000 on the station costs, because we're responsible for building the station, but it would be less convenient for Yorkville residents. It would be, you know, on the edge of town. And that was another thing that we talked about, it's just like the population radius around option C or D for Yorkville. You know, as things get built out, it's going to be much higher for Yorkville residents than option B is.
Right, because B is in our industrial corridor. We'd be taking away industrial land for the station and a massive amount of parking If we move it further in, that puts it where our comp plan shows for a high-density location of residential already.
And then, Jackie,
On the building, if I could, on the building.
go, please.
The modern building with the green roofing.
Joe?
I didn't show Dean where they put it.
What's that?
I didn't show Dean where they put it. They're the ones that are making tons of money off of these things. They've seemed to get it tamped down pretty good. If it was me. They're the ones that got all the commercial properties around them and everything, so they're the ones that have done all those.
So I just heard you volunteer to call them.
I'll get a hold of them.
What's that?
I'll get a hold of them.
Go home and ask them.
Okay.
Thank you. That's what I heard. If it were me, well, this
Yeah, because I think even in their packet, it says Show Dean Enterprises. They're the ones that put them off. Because they capitalize off the commercial with it.
Jackie, do you have any thoughts? Okay.
Wherever.
Dan, any thoughts?
I like having it on 47. I think it would make sense since it's a primary artery, not just for the city of Yorkville, but for other municipalities that might want access, for easier access to a train depot. And having the yard farther out of town makes more sense too.
So you're kind of on the B, D
Right.
line.
Right, and just because they have all these yard marks doesn't mean there's gonna be that many yards, does there?
No, and in fact, if Yorkville's not the end of line stations, there won't be here at all.
Right.
And so just so everybody's aware, I mean, the end of line decision is not going to be made by Metro, the RTA, any regional planning agencies. They're all looking to the communities in the region to make that decision. So that is a political and community discussion to happen at some point over the next few years, based on costs and ridership and all these other things.
So in the same way, Plano come in and it's not here.
Correct.
Either one of them, yes. Jackie?
So if we do, say D is the one we're looking at, is that going to hurt Wrigley in any way? Because didn't they want to have some access for shipping?
Maybe, and that would be part of the planning process. So, I mean, this doesn't lock us into anything. They're going to do some engineering and design work on that location, if that's what we choose. But as part of the due diligence, 5 years from now, they may say, you know, Wrigley needs it to build, I don't know, more Skittles factories or something. And so maybe it doesn't make sense for us to site the station there. We have to do it somewhere else. So that's all part of the discussion.
And then as to what Dan said too about being off 47, that is a good idea because I've gone to the one in Elburn to pick somebody up and it took me forever to find it because you have, like I went into Elburn, but no, you gotta go to Kesslinger and then you gotta drive around. So, you know, it's a really nice station, but it is kind of hidden.
Okay, so when do we need to have a recommendation or what is the timeline?
So public comments are open on Metro's website, I believe, through January 6th. And they had asked for feedback, you know, soon thereafter. So, you know, within a couple of weeks of that. So I've been saying end of January is kind of what we need to pick. Again, it is reversible at some point in the future. So it is kind of just a guideline. I mean, based on the feedback though today, I heard 3 people say that they preferred option D. A couple people said that they like the 47 option over the other ones. One to ask Shodine, and then we've got one that was okay with D, but then Beecher could be an option too. So, I mean, I think what we would then do is go to Metro and say, it's pretty clear that option D seems to be the favorite, but we do like this other option that we've shown in the comp plan. If for some reason in the future this doesn't work out, you know, we might choose between the two at a later date.
Anyone have any objections to that?
No.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. No, I appreciate the discussion. And those maps are awesome. Who did those? Oh, Metro did?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
There's also a survey.
Yep, all available on links on our website and on Metro's website.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, well, that is all for my original mayor's report. I have some stuff later on in the meeting. We'll go to Public Works. Is there any report?
No report.
Awesome. EDC. Jack?
I have a couple. I'd like to make a motion to approve an ordinance amending the regulations for mobile vendors and authorize mayor and city clerk to execute.
So. I heard a second by Peterson.
So
Motion.
I made the motion.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, you made the second original. Okay, just briefly, give us a brief synopsis, please.
Sure. This is the city clerk section of the licensing for mobile food vendors. So in general, we won't have licensing restrictions or licensing and regulations for food trucks on private property unless you have 3 or more.
Any questions or comments? Mr. Funkhauser?
No, this is good. It eases the restrictions, makes it a little more approachable for food trucks with their local businesses.
Just to be clear, there is a zoning component that has been split off from this. Will come in front of you in the next couple months instead of the PDC for public hearing.
Excellent. Do a roll call, please.
Bilczewski.
Aye.
Funkhauser.
Aye.
Transier.
Aye.
Clocher.
Aye.
Frieders.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Koch.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Number 2.
Well, there's no motion, this is an informational item. It's the economic development infographic that staff has put together. It's nice and colorful. Thank you for making the changes. Well, it's not here tonight, that we suggested. And it's just for an FYI. It's going to be available on our website, I believe, in handouts, anybody who's interested.
Excellent.
Any comments or questions? Let the staff know.
I think it's awesome, because the question I get asked the most is, how can we have so many auto parts stores? And if someone wants to come into Yorkville and spend their own money on due diligence, looking for a location, looking at traffic counts, figuring out where all their competition might be, and they decide to spend a few $1 million on a freestanding auto parts store, that is their right to do so. Also, like with the Verizon store, why would you do a Verizon store? It is their right to do so. So this type of graphic is a great way of explaining to someone who's not listening to you and doesn't read the actual article how things actually work in the real world. But hopefully we'll get some more auto parts stores in Ward 3. Because we do know that Ward 3 has the largest amount of taco restaurants in all of Yorkville, which is not an accident.
Taco Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
Saturday and Sunday.
Thanks. Thank you.
Mr. Funkhauser?
This is a really good document. It's simple, a lot of information, but it's a vibrant piece. It's just nice to have something that has a bunch of quick, simple answers to questions that are commonly placed that can be put out there for potential businesses or anybody who wants information quickly. This is very well done.
Nice job.
Excellent. Okay, anything else?
Nope, that's all for me.
Awesome. I like it. Okay, Public Safety Committee report, there's nothing. Admin Committee report?
No report?
Park Board report? Will the Park Board President be out later this evening?
I do not know.
Okay. We'll find out.
Mr. Mayor,
I'll check.
coming back to admin, we are going to cancel the admin committee meeting. So that is,
For next week?
yeah, just.
Same with public.
Thank you.
Art looks a little excited there.
Public Works is canceled, admin's canceled.
Does Alderman Peterson know? Is he gonna show up?
Yeah.
We'll let you know this time.
Ninth grade at 9.
Yeah.
Planning and Zoning Commission. We have an item from the PZC, number 2019-26 and EDC 2019-89. Ordinance approving the final plat of re-subdivision for Kendall Marketplace Unit 1. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Hauser, second by Frieders, okay. Who wants to explain this just briefly? Chrissy, thank you.
It's a 32-acre parcel in the marketplace commercial development. Additionally, we're looking to subdivide that into 10 parcels for individual outlots for businesses can locate. Mission to all earlier. Petitioners here.
This is just a final plat, correct? Mr. Frieders?
Will there be an auto parts store?
Or bank? 7 of them. 7.
Seven auto parts. Auto parts.
Other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Transier.
Aye.
Wiltshire,
Aye.
Peters,
Aye.
Peterson,
Aye.
Coe,
Aye.
Wilczewski,
Aye.
Funkhauser.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Excellent, thank you. City council report, anyone have anything from city council? Joel, do you have anything?
I am going to be I'm going to be on a conference call tomorrow to kind of pick players for the Illinois Suicide Prevention Alliance Task Force to figure out what their 2020 plan is. So I'm sure it's going to be riveting, but I'm excited to see how we can improve upon what we've already started in the last few years.
Excellent, thank you. Any others? No, okay. City clerk report,
No report.
community and liaison reports.
Wait. Just a reminder, I think it's still on their agenda for Monday at the school board on the 16th to talk about their tax levy.
Are you gonna represent us?
We're trying to get there. We'll hear
for
what
you.
they're going to say.
Good for you,
I
thank you.
actually want to see how many people come there and ask them about their levy. Which is way more than our levy.
I am always happy when people are engaged in our meetings,
Yes. I am too.
including the alderman.
There's where our tax dollars are going, so. Everybody come out and to school board.
Speaking of sidewalks.
Yeah, thank you. So where was I? Staff report? Do we have anything?
No reports.
So additional business, I have several more items. First of all, being that this is the last meeting of this year and before Christmas, that's a good point, in a decade. So Merry Christmas to everyone. I've really enjoyed this. I don't know how much you have, but I tell you, this has been a hell of a fun few months. So thank you all. And a happy new year. And we will be, it's not official, so don't get all bent out of shape press. Anyone who wants to join us after the meeting, we're going to Rosati's. So it's not going to be an illegal meeting. We're not going to sit there and resolve Metro stuff or anything tonight. But anyway, anyone who wants to join us can. That was item one. Item two. I look around and I don't see anyone with stitches, but I was told snitches get stitches, and I don't see anyone who got any. So apparently that threat was not followed through on, and I'll explain that later.
Cannabis is illegal till January.
So the next item is, this is for Tim. Tim, and I've told you this, but I'm just gonna say it publicly. I have received so many positive comments on that tree. I appreciate it because you and your henchman, Mr. Sleazer, when you told me this tree was available, this would be really good, but we have to make a decision in 2 days, and it's more money than we've spent before on a tree. But people will love it, I promise you. I'm like, are you kidding me? Oh my God, I get comments all the time. People tell me all the time, they love the tree, they can see it from the bridge, they love it. So I think next year we're gonna have like 50 of those trees out there. So thank you. And the final thing is I got this little, I don't know what you call this, little piece of jewelry, little necklace thing, what would you call it here, lady?
A medal.
A medal, okay. And it's, I have no idea who it's from, but it's for Saint Benedict, who's a patron saint, I didn't know this, of monks and poison sufferers. Now, I'm not sure what that means, if it means this is because I have a son named Benedict, or I gotta watch that I don't get poisoned in one of my drinks. And there's no alcohol, it's just hot chocolate, or usually tea. But anyway, so whoever provided that for me,
That is not for you, that is for your son. I told you I had that.
oh,
I mean, if you want to wear St. Benedict, that's fine.
no, that's fine, I'm good, you
But,
can
you know,
poison this.
I have a Benjamin who got 2, and he's, you know, for communion or something, and I thought, you know, what am I going to do with it?
That's fine, and I don't know the prayer for Saint Benedict.
I don't either. Put it
I know
away
Saint
first.
Michael. Okay, so those are the additional items I have. There is, you have one thing?
What about the stitches and snitches then?
Yeah, what you have?
I will not do it publicly with the press.
You did it.
Oh, no, I'm not gonna tell you the background to it. Okay, I'll do it if you two promise, don't play this. You just wanna go? Was that a motion to adjourn?
Say it after your adjournment.
I'll say it after adjournment, that's fine. I'll say it after
You
adjournment.
can't adjourn yet. You
What?
have your citizens' comments.
Oh, citizen comments, I was gonna skip those. Okay, good, now,
Now
oh, you know what?
you
Oh, you
have
do want to speak,
someone.
you've been waiting the whole time? You listen to this meeting for this all. Oh, bless you, thank you. Just for the record, state your name, please.
Dawn Rainey.
Thank you. Okay.
I have some handouts.
Okay.
This can be kind of shared. Okay. There's about 10 of them there.
Meeting Mayor and City Council members. Again, my name is Dawn Rainey. I'm a 16-year resident of Yorkville. And I'm here tonight to speak about facts and concerns over the rollout of 5G. I feel it's very important to provide significant facts on 5G to ensure proper safety measures are taken to protect our families. So what is 5G? 5G is the new 5th generation millimeter wireless technology intended to be used for the Internet of Things, which to most people means the creation of smart cities, smart homes, smart cars, faster flowing internet service. Major cell phone carriers will employ both low and high band frequencies, pulsing billions of times a second, emitting radiation 24 hours a day, 365 days a year at close proximity. Researchers, physicists, biologists, and physicians argue there are health, safety, environmental, privacy, security, and energy issues that have not been studied or addressed. The FCC states that 5G is safe, yet the FCC has not stated they currently have, the FCC has also stated they currently have no plans to do any research to ensure its safety. The FCC is protecting us with guidelines that are 20 years out of date. Independent research shows adverse biological effects impacting the skin, eyes, brain, heart, liver, kidneys, spleen, blood, and bone marrow when exposed to electromagnetic fields and wireless radiation. Research also shows damage to sperm and human resistance to bacteria. This biological harm was found at or below current U.S. safety guidelines. There's also growing evidence of harmful effects to plant and animal life from 5G as well. Electromagnetic frequencies alter bird navigation and disturb honeybee colonies. There's no denying wireless radiation poses an undeniable risk to our health and environment. It's also alarming that millimeter frequencies have been used by the Department of Defense for crowd control, using guns called active denial system. Data from the Internet of Things will be stored and used by our government, law enforcement, industry, and others to track our every move. This is a violation of privacy laws. The FCC estimates that millions of 5G small cell wireless transmitters will be built in our rights of way directly in front of our homes, schools, hospitals, and businesses across the country. There could be hundreds of antennas in our community alone, aiming laser-like beams simultaneously to cell phones and other devices. Studies show that property values could drop by up to 20% on homes near cell towers. Who will want to live near these wireless transmitters? Illinois passed the Small Wireless Facilities Act, SB 1451, which is taking control away from local governments and uses federal government control to force installation of 5G into villages, towns, and cities across the state. Our rights to informed consent have been taken away. Cities and states across the country are beginning to recognize that wireless radiation poses serious health risks to public health. In countries around the world where 5G has been installed, people are already reporting burning to skin, loud ringing in the ears, unbearable earaches, insomnia, chest pain, fatigue, lowered immunity such as more frequent colds, illnesses, and fever. The Environmental Health Trust has termed 5G as the next great unknown experiment on our children and the entire human population. In 2018, the National Toxicology Program of the U.S. National Institute of Health concluded there is clear evidence of carcinogenicity when exposed to wireless radiation. Insurance companies refuse to cover cell phone manufacturers for liability regarding health claims. Insurance companies learned their lesson when they paid out massive amounts of money when people got sick from tobacco and asbestos. They know people are going to be harmed from wireless radiation exposure. They're not willing to take the risks, and we shouldn't either. So what can we do to protect and ensure the health and safety of our community? Research shows that using wired technology not only safeguards our health, but also our security and our privacy. Wireless is not safe. Cities, schools, hospitals, and the like should use hardwired technology to avoid involuntarily subjecting people to harmful radiation and be exposed to potential security breaches and hacks. We need community members to get involved. We need to contact our state legislators to let them know we do not approve of being involuntarily subjected to harmful radiation. Recently, Congressman Dan Lipinski wrote the SAC with questions regarding the review of human health effects of radio frequency radiation. State Senator Susie Gloyak Hilton has proposed legislation to create a task force to study the impacts of 5G networks. We need members of this board to contact our legislators to amend the SB 1451 bill to give power back to local municipalities and require the FCC to update their outdated regulations. Science links wireless radiation to harmful health effects, and the evidence is growing stronger every day. We urge you to act upon the precautionary principle, which means taking the preventative and anticipatory actions to keep our community safe. The photo I provided speaks volumes. The cell tower in the photo emits low and high bandwidth pulses, sending radiation across the area. A group of high school board band members is standing within meters of it. There are apartments next to this tower, a baseball field, a football field, and 3 schools. It is irresponsible to place cell towers of any kind to close proximity to residents. Concerned community members want to know what your plans are for deploying 5G in our community, and is there currently 5G infrastructure in Yorkville? Thank you.
Thank you for your time. And thanks for waiting. Okay, there's no executive session unless somebody wants one. Oh, I'm sorry. God, I missed. Please, go ahead. Hi, thank you.
My name is Kelly Burke, and I'm not well versed at doing this, but I am a concerned citizen. And obviously, we want people to come out in the community to speak, so hi. Yorkville, I actually live in Sandwich. However, I'm in Yorkville a lot. My son has been at the schools here in Yorkville too. And Yorkville is an important community to me. And I'm here to just to share some of my basic thoughts as well about the 5G implementation that's coming through the community. On an official level, I honestly don't even know if you as a community have a choice to disapprove or accept it. But I would like to, as I was a licensed healthcare worker in the state of Illinois for 12 years, I've studied health for 20-some years, and it's important. It's an important thing for each and every one of us to look more into, because it's been proven by many scholars, by many scientists, by many doctors, that there are dangers associated with the 5G health impact on our health. So I just encourage you to look into the scholars and that are writing about it. There's other communities that have banned it. There's other countries that have banned it because there are health risks associated with it. And it's really important for you to look into that, because when it's in your community, can't avoid it, and that's why I'm here. Because I'm in Yorkville a lot, I drive through all the time, and when I see the 5G towers, I am aware of something that's happening. I've been reading about it for several months now, I think is when it's really come to the attention of the public. And I'm scared, and it's important to look into. There's a quote that I wanted to share. The Federal Communications Commission, they had a representative on February 6th of this year at the Senate Commerce hearing. And he noted that there's been no 5G safety studies that have been conducted or funded by the agency or the telecom industry, and none are planned. So if we want to put something in our community and feel confident in it, we need to look into it more, because they haven't. And as I mentioned, different professionals are noting serious concerns and health risks associated with it, and those concerns are simply not being properly addressed, and this is still coming out. So you need to consider why. That's pretty serious. And look into what has happened to the test pilots in other countries where 5G has been put up. It's not coming to mind right now what trying to think, of London, I think, I know in European countries, it's been initiated at the very beginning, and they've completely wiped out all trees in those communities, lovely communities, wiped out all the trees because the 5G communications have to have clear access for transmitting the signals, and it's just decimated communities. So just look into it more, and just for each one of you to do that, so you'll all have heard of that in this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you also for sticking around. So I should ask one more time, is there anyone else? Because I felt like I slighted both of them unintentionally. Okay, now there is no need for executive session. Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion. Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.